Well, thoughts and feelings are with those stuck at Perth Airport over the weekend. All I can say is we know exactly how you feel here on the Shelter FootyCast. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, a few Jetstar flights just boarding at the moment. We are taking off here. Big week of football just gone. Skated a couple of teams on buys. Some big news-breaking things happening as well in regards to the Rising Star, and you remain the hardest working man in football. How are you, mate?
Just battler, man of the people, I would suggest, William. What I will say is, and I don't normally like to give you compliments, but I would just like to point out, when I was at the footy on Saturday, you normally like to wear a sort of a Richie Benno fawn type cream sort of jacket, a lighter colour.
Yes.
You went the dark suit colour with the pocket square. I'm going to give you a 9.5 out of 10. I thought it was a really smooth-looking operation from you on Saturday, because sometimes I know you're a younger man, so you're probably trying to look in that 30 to 40 bracket. I'm 50 to 60, so I get that. But I like the dark look with the little pocket square job.
You still couldn't give me the compliment with just a little fucking drive-by. Like, just a little drive-by.
No, you look smooth. Look smart. I told you on the day as well.
Yeah, thank you, Skater. I appreciate it. That is fucking very rare coming from you, a compliment. Well, Skeet, I think we should almost get straight into this one. I know you've got to. You've been working brekkie radio this morning up at 3 a.m. Then you're going to do the Waffle this afternoon. You've just come back from Northam, off the back of a game on the weekend as well.
You come home and hold hands with my wife, and then go to
Shut
bed and
the
do it again.
blinds and see to put his feet up. The bourbons come out and the shelters as well.
Let's
Shelter FootyCast on socials. You know what to do there. Sign up as a VIP. I can see some new patrons just this morning, so welcome our VIPs, the Skeeter and Scoey Tiers, and a little bit of a shout out to the Cabin Fever event down on Busselton foreshore. It's a free event. That'll be the 13th and 14th of July, so about a month away, but if you are planning anything over that weekend, I'll be getting down there. Got lots of bands down there. Death by Denim will be playing down there. There's beers, there's food trucks. Shelter will be running all the things. There's an espresso martini bar and a silent disco. That's got Mark Reddings written all over it.
I'm not a really espresso martini man, but tell you what, that's a decent array of attractions. By the way, happy WA Day to you. It's
What does that mean?
Well, it's like Foundation Day. It used to be called the Foundation Day holiday. It's a bit like, is there a day in Victoria that they celebrate?
Labor Day?
Labor Day, probably, I think. Yeah. Whenever that's held. I think that might be in March or something. Anyway, so it's essentially just celebrating all things great WA. The big event here was cancelled because of the weather, but
I didn't have parking at the footy because of it.
No, me too. I had to park elsewhere. But it's going to be huge, and footy. We've got a bit to get through.
Let's get into the footy. The biggest story out of the weekend: Harley Reid and Sam Darcy, mind you,
and the Dockers winning from a WA perspective.
Absolutely, huge game from the Dockers. So we'll get into the Dockers and go through that in a little bit. But I think league-wide news here: Sam Darcy and Harley Reid. Unless they appeal and they get off, which both of them may, but I doubt either of them gets off. They're ineligible for the Rising Star. They were both almost unbackable favourites. First of all, Sam Darcy was second favourite, then he got injured, reported. Harley Reid then becomes an unbackable favourite, gets reported himself. You were at the game, you were calling, as was I. How did you see the incident for Harley Reid?
Well, as soon as it happened, I was a bit unsure of what the implications would be. Fortunately, Wilson got to his feet and played out the game, which it just shows you what the action as opposed to the result of that action means. And I know you were going on instinct, and you probably were a little less likely to say automatic suspension. I thought, to be honest with you, okay, his head's hit the deck. The way he put him to ground, I thought there'd be a 1 week penalty with it. I'm not surprised they've gone in that path. I don't think you are really either, are you?
No, I'm not. So, as you know, skate commentating, you either get it right or wrong, and you only get one chance at it too. So my first reaction was, I think probably I don't want to say biased, but I sort of watch and I go, well, I don't want him to get reported. So I think my first reaction was like, well, how do we sort of talk about this in a way that it might not get off? And then I doubled down on social media, which gave me a fair bit of feedback, which was good. But
you get a few free character audit, don't you?
You live and you learn, though. But I don't really care too much about what people got to say to me or about me. But, look, the incident overall, do we think as a football community, and I mean everyone here, do we think that should be 2 weeks? Does that feel right? It's like the holding the ball rule. Are some of these ones we're seeing, should they be holding the ball? Should this be 2 weeks? What does it feel like to you?
The landscape's changed so much since the start of this season. It is, but
take the rules away. You've been watching footy for a long time. What do you think that is worth.
I think it deserves a penalty given his head hit the deck.
1 week.
That's just me. Just given, and even the extremes. I mean, 2 weeks going back in time, and not that long ago, 2-week penalty was something that was a medium level. Which have you ever suspended for 2 weeks ever?
Well, when I feathered Clayton Oliver and then I got off, got that completely reversed at the tribunal, so that was a 2-weeker.
Yeah. So
I actually got a 2 week for punching Jack Raywald as well.
What did you get for the headbutt?
1 week.
Okay, so there you go. So just checking. So the headbutt versus the tackle we saw. I mean, I guess the bigger issue here, I think Harley got a little bit sucked in, or certainly learning the craft of dealing with taggers and Marcus Windhager, what he did to him. And I reckon Ross Lyon and St Kilda made a conscious effort to really make Harley earn every kick he had on the weekend. So that was the end result, or part of the end result was him, whether it's frustration or just a bad technique. I can't find fault with him being suspended. I would have thought 1, maybe 2, but because Wilson played on. But yeah, they might challenge, but they're not going to get it wiped.
And me specifically, I've been really strong on action over outcome. So, if Wilson gets knocked out and he's doing the cockroach on the ground, we'd probably be going, there's a 3-4 weeker. He plays on and he gets 2, but we should be just looking at the action. And look, there's a lot of factors to it. It happens very fast. There is a slinging motion. I don't think there's 2 actions. I think at some point, if we take our eyes off this incident in particular, but still using this one, there has to be some sort of responsibility on the person getting tackled or bumped. And we spoke about it with Matt Crouch, I think, a few weeks ago, with your technique in picking up a ball. And if you get hit head high, if you go in leading with your head, there has to be some responsibility. I think with this one and with others, if you elect to take someone on, especially like this in a one-on-one situation, you can't expect not to be tackled aggressively if you're trying to step someone inside like Darcy Wilson was doing. You can expect to have your head protected, but I think there has to be some sort of responsibility, because if 5 years ago, Skeeter, that happened, we'd be saying play of the day, wouldn't we? Yeah. Play of the day, great aggressive tackle, strong tackle, turnover, holding the ball. Because was it played holding the ball, or was it a sling tackle? It was played a sling tackle.
Exactly. And you're saying, exactly, pertinent point, 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, probably the last couple of years it's come into vogue. Look, I don't think Harley's got a leg to stand on. I know you're saying it's the job of the player in Wilson's case.
You should expect that tackle's coming.
But the final action of it, could he have released that tackle before he did? I mean, that's the motion they're talking about. I didn't sense it was a double action.
No.
But the
speed of it.
The speed and the end result was not a great look, I don't think, for Harley. And I don't think they'll be challenging. As I say, at the time, I was oblivious to the fact, or wasn't across even thinking that, this could be the end of his Rising Star nomination, because, of course, it's just like the fairest and best. It begs the question, what constitutes now the penalties, and maybe it extends to the Brownlow, with regards to eligibility for awards?
I think we need to have a good look at that across the board, just because of the way we're treating these incidents now. I don't think players know if they're going to get reported or not. I don't think they know exactly what they can and can't do. There's a real sense of uncertainty speaking to players around the league. And if that's the case, I think it's putting into jeopardy these awards, the Brownlow, the Rising Star. If you get reported for something that's effectively innocuous, but someone's hit their head and you get a week, and then you lose a Brownlow medal for it, do we want to? I don't think. And again, I use the word footy community. I don't think that feels right to me.
Did it feel right that Patrick Cripps won the Brownlow medal under the circumstances he did? This is just an argument. When Archie was taken out under the rules, and I think the AFL was probably at fault with the way that played out. But that's a sort of the analogy of trying to line it up.
To answer your question, it would have felt wrong if he lost it because of that, I think. So I don't know if it's right because he won it, but if he had it stripped from him because of that incident, which would...
But should he have been suspended in your mind?
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
But he shouldn't have lost the Brownlow for it. So I think we need to remove that element from it.
Yeah, it's a decent argument, I have to say.
Because how long's a Brownlow been going for?
Well,
long time, right?
Long time. So the action you're thinking, if you punch a bloke, or you jump out off a Jimmy Webster style, you cop it sweet. But you're right, in those circumstances,
some of these footy actions,
they're hardly in with the intent of causing the damage that they do.
holding the ball was interpreted differently over the weekend. There was 40% rise in holding the ball free kicks compared to the season average over the weekend. Did you like how it looked in footy in general?
Question...
Did it look better?
Yeah, at times, yeah. But, I mean...
40% more.
40%, so that's a fair jump. That's going from like 0 to 100 in 5. That's a really big jump for all concerned. I mean, the one that stood out that wasn't paid in terms of just looking at little moments, Nick Dacos,
yes,
wasn't penalised.
But
that's
umpires make mistakes.
Well, and also umpires probably thinking, well, did he have prior? So that's the element now we're going to have to work out with the umpires as to what constitutes. Some people are saying if you don't have the prior, and even if you get the ball and you try to kick it, you don't make contact, it should be a free kick. I just hope we don't keep talking about umpires because the holding the ball thing's been dragging on for a bit now. But yeah, by and large, at least they're listening, the AFL. I
think it looked better. I think I'm just going to keep saying, if it looks like it should be holding the ball, then pay it. If it doesn't, then don't pay it. And I think everyone will be happier with that. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. Righto, Skeet. Let's get through the games. Let's start with Freo. We talked a bit about West Coast. Fremantle, you can only say impressive win. And I know over East they'll be talking about how disappointing Melbourne was, but let's talk about how impressive Freo was. They've struggled to move the footy. They haven't been an aggressive, high-scoring side, and then they've scored 140 points against Melbourne.
And, look, I don't have the record books in front of me, but you tell me the last time the Dockers had 68 inside 50s in a match. That's getting up there. That's massive.
18 marks inside 50 as well.
Yeah, so many things went right now. I'll put my hand up. I was...
we both picked Melbourne.
We both, but I was also otherwise engaged while this match was being played. So I didn't see a lot of it. But I do know that, as you said, Jordan Clark, he continues to be, all Australian discussion?
Yeah, definitely discussion. Luke Ryan, they're working in tandem at the moment. So I think if you're going to beat Freo, you've got to put time into one of those guys, which we saw. That's terrible, but someone tagged him. Sydney. When Sydney played,
James Jordan.
Yeah, he tagged Jordan Clark, and it made a massive difference because I think Luke Ryan and Jordan Clark, they work very well together, offensively as well. So Luke Ryan had 18 marks and 24 kicks. Jordan Clark had 36 disposals, 15 marks and a goal. That's big from your backline.
That's massive. And your forwards start getting a bit of the footy and converting, which is huge with Amos and Jackson and Tracy all doing their best work. So essentially, let's be honest, the Dockers, and they've got a really good draft hand at the start of next year. I don't think you need to look for a Logan McDonald as good as he. No. I think their forward setup with their tools is pretty sound. I think they're in not just for this year but moving forward. I think, and Tracy, this has been his breakout season, and it's made the world of difference to their forward line.
So 13 goals between Amos, Jackson, Tracy and Walters on the day. I think their forward line looks great when they move the ball like they did. But when they move it like they did against Collingwood, which you've got to give credit to Collingwood that they were able to, stifle the ball movement, and you can't force it. But I do think it looked like they were playing a more aggressive attacking style with ball in hand and ball by foot, handballed less, kicked more.
Which is what I was, and I remember speaking to Hamish Brayshaw last Sunday about it as well, and I thought, this is just me, but their handball happy status was and it was creating more problems than what it was, I think, solving, because their mistakes, and it's all about execution, of course. If you do something well, that obviously is going to play in your favour. If you don't, particularly handballs, and against better sides, the turnovers happen. So on that basis, if you're saying to me they were far more prone to kicking the footy yesterday, then I personally like that if that's the style they're going to go. What I do think is important, they get to the bye in sixth position and they can reload. You might say to me, well, the best thing would have been to keep playing and build on what they did yesterday.
Can you believe they're in sixth? It doesn't seem like they're in sixth to me.
No, but then again, I said last week, I picked Port Adelaide to beat Carlton, but I said to you, they're third. They don't feel like a third team, and they're not. I think that's a false...
we went through the trust scale. There's some sides in the 8 right now that we don't know really what they're going to put out week to week. So just on the kicking handball side of things, Skate, the ratio was significantly different than the week before. So they had 444 disposals against Melbourne, 280 kicks, 164 handballs, and Melbourne went 1 for 1. They went 170 each way.
Wow! And the ratio in that Collingwood game with handballs to kicks for the Dockers was far tighter, far closer.
Yeah, correct. So they had 220 kicks, 190 handballs. So getting really, almost 1 for 1 handball to kick ratio. They just look better when they kick the footy. And you can still defend behind that as well, and it takes field position and all of that.
The term I was about to use is what is wrong with field position, because
With a forward line like that, nothing.
yeah, but even just being able to, the field position factor means it takes heat off your back line. And I understand the theory of the handball and if it's done well, but no, if that's the way they're tracking moving forward, lots to like about. And Michael Walters, I've said he needs to start to hit the scoreboard. He did that. Yeah, it was a really important match for them to showcase. And I think the rest of the country stood up and went, well, okay, this mob's not bad.
Problem, Skeeter. They've got to buy this week.
Yeah, well, I just said that. Is that good or bad? You're probably saying it's bad because the momentum would have been terrific to carry.
I think so. And you think you want to test out to see if that's our footy. You know, you beat a team by 100 points, and sometimes you'd almost rather it be a 6-goal win and sort of learn a bit more.
Adelaide wins by 99, gets towed up by Hawthorn conventionally the next week. But
could be a good thing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I mean, Sean Darcy. I'm trying to think guys that might have been a bit sore, but they don't have a heap of injuries to my knowledge. I mean, Brendan Cox gets a bit closer.
So the older players will freshen up in Fife, O'Meara, Walters, like that. They should all enjoy the break. Put it this way, Skate, you'd rather win than lose, so they'll be happy.
And the Demons were Shizen apparently. So that's,
we haven't talked about that.
That's a huge defeat for a team that.
What's going on there?
Yeah, that's a really strange lot. They got beaten in every category. So Simon Goodwin,
a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but their best is still exceptionally good. And their next match against Collingwood on the King's birthday holiday.
They're really struggling to score this year, though, Melbourne. Like they're having
their forward line. Fritz is obviously established. Ben Brown is
he's done.
He's done. His body's just about cooked.
Last
as well.
game was against West Coast. I reckon career-wise.
Yeah.
But like they got smashed by West Coast.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, I don't know where Melbourne are at. What about West Coast? The West Coast St Kilda game, 82-68. Saints get it done. I think the biggest story in this one for mine was Ross the Boss might be back. I think it was brilliant coaching by Ross Lyon. We had him on the halftime cross for Fox Footy, and he literally said exactly what he was going to do. He said, Harley Reid's been their best player. We're putting Windhager to him, and we're going to tag him. And we're going to move the ball better in our back line. So they put Windhager to Harley Reid, who'd had 18 in the first half. He was the highest-ranked player on the ground. He had 7 clearances, most in his career. Second half, didn't have a clearance, had 3 disposals, gave 3 free kicks away and got reported and lost the Rising Star. So that is a big move. 1, because we don't see a lot of tagging going on. 2, I reckon it's a bit of pride needing to be swallowed from an opposition coach to go and tag a 10-gamer. Like, I understand he was the best player on the ground, but I think some coaches would get a bit arrogant about it and say, well, he's just a 10-gamer. So to go and shut him down, but then what that did, Jack Sinclair went properly behind the footy. He's been sort of going mid-back. He was back to his half-back, like, dominance, and he was just moving the ball so well. So their back line then started working a lot better. I just thought it was brilliant coaching, and that was the difference in the end.
Yeah, and look, Ross has been adamant with this group. They probably aren't the most talented group by a long shot in the competition, but he believes they're extremely fit and have a really good running capacity. And so when they can get their ball movement in a better position, what we saw on Saturday, and particularly in the last quarter, look, I thought the Eagles were pretty brave. I don't think they were terrible by any means. When you lose Warden, when you lose Kelly,
big outs,
and for a side that needs their best players in, that was significant for them. So St Kilda get the result. It wasn't a great game of footy, but 14 points. Yeah, they were able to break open in that last quarter. And you're right, for the move, you just wonder why Windhager didn't go to him at the start. Hindsight's obviously the easiest term to bring out in footy. But yeah, Ross did a really good job. And I think Harley Reid, apart from anything, learned a bit about what's going to be required for him to, week in, week out now, if that's the template, to try and not lose his cool, keep composed, and obviously other teammates to help him through that. I mean, Tom Barras close to the best for the Eagles down back again. He's having McGovern good, yeah. So their backline is doing as good a job as they can. They conceded 12 goals or thereabouts, but yeah.
So Harley Reid, he's got a good coach to help him out with that. Well, a couple of them actually. Matty Knights is at the football club. Jared Schofield's there, and Luke Shuey is his stoppage coach. So Luke Shuey would have spent some time under the tag. So I think they'll be working very closely together. Mason Wood, outstanding.
4 goals, wasn't it?
4 goals, 22 disposals on a wing, and that's a pretty good game.
Just quickly, Andrew Gaff, who made his comeback to footy, I thought started really well and I won't say justified his position, but he certainly, kicking that goal. The crowd, you can tell, embraced the fact that he's back out there and he's been potted and he's been labelled done and dusted, but I was happy for him.
Well, he's played 270, 80 games. He knows what he's doing out there, and he looked quite at home for mine, so I'd keep him in there and playing. I think he probably gives them good run and plays a role on that wing for them, and they need that right now. McGovern, Barris. I think McGovern sounds like he's in All-Australian contention, just speaking. We had Glenn Jakovic talking about it at 6PR. It sounds like he's in his side. They're putting their 40-man squads together, I think, right now. Well, they might have just done it over the weekend. I think Tom Barris, in a better side, is the All-Australian fullback. And the only reason he's not right now is because he plays for West Coast. The amount of defending and one-on-ones and inside 50s and shit turnovers that he's defending and still manages to do something about it, I think he's the All-Australian fullback right now. And the only thing stopping him from being spoken about that as the out-and-out fullback is because he plays for a side that's pretty shit.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine the Eagles having two key backs in an All-Australian team at the moment because of what you're talking
Correct.
about.
So it's an interesting topic, isn't it? So, the winning and losing of teams obviously plays a part. Like, you need to be playing in a good side, which is good. You want the best players from the best sides. Like, Sydney should have 10 blokes in at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
The last one I want to say on this, Matt Flynn, I think he made a real difference.
Absolutely.
He looked great.
But what it also did, when I saw Barley Williams go forward, I mean, you've seen him pinch hit in the ruck or be the sole ruckman, essentially. He looked like he had some gas in the fuel tank. And he was launching him, so he looked a better player automatically. And Flynn, I thought he was terrific. He's not going to be Polly Farmer or Dean Cox, but what he did was compete and did what exactly the Eagles wanted him to do when they recruited him.
Jake Waterman was laid out. He dislocated his shoulder during the week, so that's big news. Given what he's been able to do from a marking perspective, it's not going to help contested marking situation having a loose shoulder. So he did try to get up, but he couldn't get his arm above halfway, basically. So
what's that in terms of sideline?
Oh, mate, like, you can play with it, but it's at risk of going out again. And if it keeps happening, they'll have to have surgery and it's done for the year.
The obvious name that comes to mind was Chris Judd when he came to the club. Had, I think, at least one shoulder reconstruction. Is that right? Or
both shoulders, I think.
Maybe both shoulders.
But if it's just a straight labour and repair, I've had both of my shoulders done. You can get them done and repair, but it's a 12-week recovery minimum. So, So most likely he'll try and play strap it up.
Yep.
It's not a jabbing thing unless
End
he's
of season?
underpaid. Well, yeah, but if this week he plays and it comes out again, they can't have him out there and his shoulder keep coming out. So they'll put him in for surgery. So that's massive news. Oscar Allen's about a week away, I think. So this side looks very differently for West Coast with Allen, Waterman if he gets back, Kelly back in that side, and Matt Flynn now in the ruck. And then just talk about Barris and McGovern. With a full side, they should have enough out there to build a team around, a proper team.
So the question I would ask you, and look, they've got North Melbourne this week. Whose list would you rather have as we speak? Eagles, St Kilda, their opponents at the weekend.
Oh, West Coast, definitely.
Well, so would I. Eagles or Hawthorn?
List West Coast.
Now.
Put Sam Mitchell in charge at West Coast. Then you got my holy grail.
Oh, so you think it's hang on, you're saying it's a coach issue more so than a player issue?
Well, it has to have some part in it. I'm probably saying more that Sam Mitchell is a very, very good coach. So I think he's doing a very good job with his list that he has available. And I think West Coast list is better than Hawthorn's. So therefore, if we're talking about mathematics, Mitchell in charge of West Coast would make a better side. Now, that's not really talking about Adam Simpson. It's more about the tools that Sam Mitchell has at his disposal at Hawthorn. That's not a very good list. It might be in a few years, but I think you'd rather West Coast list. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I tell you what, Hawthorn.
You almost towed me into an absolute fucking minefield there.
Didn't mean to, Sco, but anyway, I'm just trying to get a beat on where the Eagles are at. They'll get Oscar Allen back. They'll get, hopefully a decent look at the draft at the end of the year. So,
hey, what was Jack Hutchinson?
Yeah, Jack Hutchinson.
So he's the kid just picked up by West Coast in the pre-season draft.
5 goals, 11 disposals.
Mid-season draft.
Yeah, he was terrific. He almost took an absolute hanger, which we saw him in the highlights for Collingwood. But he just finds a way to get to the ball inside the 50. And
how far off is he from playing AFL?
Well, you know what? It's hard because he's playing Waffle footy. He's playing against Perth, who are a lowly side. But what I saw, the eye test for me was to say, you don't pick up a bloke at number 3 in the draft, and possibly could have gone higher, and not decide to use him pretty quickly. So on the back of 5 goals, if he was named in the side this week, I wouldn't be shocked.
For West Coast.
Absolutely. For the AFL. You know what? You're gonna lose. I mean, Jack Williams will be, I think, given a breather this week.
That didn't quite work. Yep.
No, and I really like him. He's a really good young player. Ryan Marrick, was he?
He was a bit quiet.
A bit quiet. Why not? Get the young bloke in there. I think he has, at least from what I saw, a fair bit of potential. And, mid-season draft, you're going to have a quick look at them this year or a look at them for the rest of the year. Get him in against North Melbourne. I would absolutely consider it.
Will Schofield, Mark Redding's Shelter FootyCast. All right, let's whip through these games for the rest of the round, Skeet, because then we've got some emails to get through. Port Adelaide defeated by Carlton. Both picked Port Adelaide, probably?
We would have, yeah. But I reckon I've had 2 Thursday night selections right for the whole year. So
it in your life. Might be in your life.
Yeah,
You're whinging about that in the last couple of years.
Just can't pick a winner on a Thursday. And you know what? I felt uneasy about Port Adelaide all Thursday. And then Carlton...
You did say that, actually.
Carlton... Yep. To their credit, and let's be honest, Paddy Cripps last quarter outstanding. He probably picks up the 3 Brownlow votes.
Sam Walsh pretty good, 34.
Sam Walsh was outstanding. Those 2 blokes combined, you've got the key forwards that they do. For me, Charlie Dixon looks like he's coming off a breather. And he looks cooked.
Let's sub him off.
He looks cooked. Port Adelaide, they miss Rosie. That's the obvious one. But they're a top 8 side, but they're not a premiership side. By any means.
Yeah, their list is probably a bit of an issue, aren't they? They tried to add to their back half. They probably haven't had the results they wanted out of that. And Carlton's a dangerous forward side, so if their midfield gets on top, that's the footy they want to play. They want to get it in there. They want Charlie and Harry to get to work and kick goals is what they did. Mitch Georgiades, West Australian, kicked 4 goals as well. But that was only the second ever win at Adelaide Oval by Carlton, and the other was at Gather Round.
Yeah, against the Dockers. And under controversy. It's the first win over a South Australian team in 10 years or whatever.
So does that mean they just don't play there, or are they just no good there?
No good there. Well, they've obviously only previous, apart from the Dockers, played generally against Port or Crows.
We picked with the form. Like, you couldn't have blamed us for picking Port Adelaide. We did.
Yeah, well, we've seen it. They're just so flaky. For a good side, they're flaky.
Bulldogs beat Collingwood in a pretty good game Friday night, 100-82. The Bont was massive, 2 goals, 38 disposals. He went to a new level. Bailey Dale's back to his absolute best, 35 disposals. Collingwood, they're lit. They are at the point now where their bottom 5 players just aren't good enough. They're not terrible players, and they look like they can play the role, but they're missing some real quality in their side, like some proper quality.
To get within 3 goals with the list that they've got or the players they've got out, I think it shows a fair bit of character from Collingwood, but it was a match the Bulldogs. It was ideally set up for them, and you're right, you mentioned some of those players that were dominant for the Dogs. Again, I didn't see much of this game, to be totally honest, because I was at AC Milan and AS Roma doing some ground announcing, so I wasn't quite in a good position to watch the game.
As I said, the hardest man in footy, ground announcing at AC
the point the point I'm trying to make here is that the fear for me of one of the Italian names, which had about 37 syllables, if I was going to have to pronounce it in front of 56,000 fans, it was palpable. So I was hoping Chris Smalling from AS Roma was going to score goals. And, of course, they had all these weird names come out at me.
So what were you doing out there? Were you on there going, go?
No.
Go, 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 go. Mr. Mark Redding's up there yodeling.
You sound like Andre Bocelli, you dickhead. Anyway, no, I was just doing some of that. So I didn't see much of the game. I went home and watched it, though. Had a couple of shelters and watched. So I got to bed about 12:30.
Bit of an investment in it.
The Dogs, I was impressed with.
Yes.
But again, they were against a wounded opponent, but you can only win what you do, and they managed in the last quarter. Particularly, I did watch that in great depth, and they just owned the territory. Just continually had Collingwood deep in defence, and it was inevitable that the victory would come.
50 hit-outs to Tim English, which is a big day at the office. So, yeah, it just looked like one of those games that the Bulldogs were going to get them, and they did. But we still don't know enough about the Bulldogs. They sit in 11th and Collingwood 9th. So this season, no one's got even close to predicting what was going to happen this year. Like no one's called it whatsoever. Sydney being good maybe, but
Collingwood needs to get a real look at a premiership.
The players
need some players back, and they're going to have to start their run a bit like Carlton did last year at the back half of their season to try and build. We know they can do it. In fact, you feel that they're the side best equipped to break into the 8 by a mile.
No, absolutely not. It's this team right here. Hawthorn defeat Adelaide by 27 points, and I picked them, Skater.
So did I.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
You listened to me for once. So Hawthorn get it done. Hawthorn get it done. They were impressive. It's a good win.
Kick the first 4.
Dylan Moore kicked 5 on the day. That's a big game. He's turned into a really good footy player. He's one of their best players. Will Day, really important for them again. Jack Ginnivan, I think that's a really good pickup. That he just looks so dangerous all the time, doesn't
and
he?
Jack Gunston, 250th game, kicks a couple of goals. And
maybe the last one of the day.
Absolutely, with about a minute to go. And just the interaction between Sam Mitchell and the players, to me, I know it's easy to see it on ground when you win, but there seems to be a genuine love and rapport of his boys, so to speak. So, there's some shaky moments at the start of this season, but they are arguably, outside of Sydney, they're arguably the most informed side in the competition. Some of their opponents in the last 5 weeks, haven't been maybe from the top notch, but they've been good.
They have won 4 of their last 5 of their last 7. So they are properly informed, and then I think one of those is a draw. I think did they draw? No,
they got beaten by Port Adelaide by a point after being 41 points up.
That's right. That's right. They're correct. So they could have easily won 6 of the last 7, which is big. Hawks, just 2 wins outside the 8 with 4 wins in the last 5
You think
games.
they can get there?
I think they can play finals, yeah. I think they're the side. So you mentioned,
ahead of Collingwood.
Carlton making a run. Well, Collingwood don't have to play. Like they don't have the players. But the sides in there right now that aren't playing finals, Gold Coast not playing finals for mine. Geelong not playing finals, even though they're third. They're third on the ladder. They're third on the ladder. Geelong are third on the ladder.
Geelong are third?
Geelong are third on the ladder. Geelong are third on the ladder. 2 points behind Essendon, who are second on the ladder. Geelong aren't playing finals for mine. So there's 2 teams.
Okay.
So there we go. Hawthorn and Collingwood can go play. Like that.
Anyone else you want to pot along the way?
You just asked who was going to miss finals. I need to take someone out.
Yeah, you do. You're taking 2 out, which is very rare at this time of the season to have any change at all.
Yeah, but this season is a rare season, Skeeter. Like Essendon in second position on 34 points.
I think they're a bona fide second from what we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, but Geelong on a bona fide third.
No, you're probably right.
And Port Adelaide just got smacked. They're in 4th. Carlton 5th. Freo have jumped to 6th, which they're not. They haven't been a consistent top 8 side this year, and they're 6th.
And with a chance, they'll be eyeing a double chance now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, correct. Well, mate, you have to be. They're 1 game behind second. They're 1 game out of second position, which is just crazy for mine. Next 5 for Hawthorn, I think, is GWS, Richmond, West Coast, Geelong, Freo.
They're winning
GWS hard. Richmond, yes. West Coast, yes. Geelong, yes. Freo, hard.
Yeah.
So there we go. I think Hawthorn's making a run, Skater. Geelong defeat Richmond by 30 points in the end. This was a closer game than that scoreboard probably says. Richmond had a lot more chances in the first half than they did the second. Probably should have been more up at half time. Tigers led at quarter time and at half time, but then got run over in the end, GMHBH Stadium. They don't have anyone playing. That's a VFL side playing.
And they've also lost Lafau, I think, with an ACL.
Yeah, so they're 5th of the season. That's. We spoke to Steve Gravino with front runner physio and asked, at what point do we start going, some luck, and 5 is areas. Brisbane
will be
next
best or next worst.
Which is just terrible news because he's been playing good footy.
Absolutely. He was picked up in the rookie draft.
Mate, he's been playing fucking footy for 12 months. He hasn't been playing his whole life. So that's really disappointing for him. Dusty Martin had kicked 2 goals, had 15. But it's sort of the brigade of Geelong that's kind of standing up. The unknowns. Ollie Dempsey kicked 3 goals, had 27 disposals. That's a huge game. Jack Bowes had 29 disposals and a goal. That's why I don't have them playing finals right now. And look,
no, you're probably right. But and what we've seen, there's a bit of a trend, even down at Geelong, where they've been so strong over the journey. Their first halves have been terrible.
Sorry. Just hot off the press, Skeeter.
Yes.
We will challenge Harley Reid's 2-match suspension from the West Coast Eagles. Just come in right now. So they will be challenging that decision at the MRO.
And I think the best case scenario, will be to get it from 2 to 1.
If they can get it to low impact, which would be difficult, he can get off.
Yeah.
Which it seems strange.
2 seems harsh. To get nothing seems unders. Yep. I think we'll land in between. But
the reason they'll be doing that is there's a bye in the middle. So 2 right now gives him 3 weeks off. So they'll be wanting to at least get it down to effectively 2 with 1 week off.
The Cats, as I was saying, their first halves at home have been. That's why there looks a lot of holes in their in their side at the moment, just the way they're going about it. And
Score 100 points. So, I don't know.
But
maybe
they beat Richmond. I mean, Richmond, talk about Collingwood's ills with the personnel, so too the Tigers.
Skeet, I barely saw this game. I was getting stuck into Shelters at the Hurdy Tavern for a birthday party. Yeah, the Hurdy was absolute shit show. There's kids running amok.
Oh, I was going to say,
everyone in there.
The Herdsman Lake?
Yeah, Herdsman Lake Tavern.
Last time I've been there, I think there was Skimpies performing when I was there. Seriously. I've been there with mates of mine, Reggie Ham.
Look, I didn't say any skimpies, but I'm not saying there wasn't any there. But I was probably not paying too much attention to this one. Gold Coast defeat Essendon by 11 points in the end. I did see the score tracker. It looked like Essendon got within real touching distance in the last quarter, just couldn't get over the line. Noah Anderson, 33 disposals. Sam Flanders and Alex Sexton combined for 63 touches across half back, so they've had a stack of it back there. Can the Bombers continue this run of not being able to challenge these sides away from their home deck? And can Gold Coast continue to win at home and lose away? I don't know.
Hang on a sec. You said Essendon. Now, I stand corrected here. I know they beat the Eagles in Perth. I'm pretty sure they won in Adelaide, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think I was trying to lead into saying it for Gold Coast, and then I got halfway through my sentence with Essendon.
I think you're right. The Gold Coast, we know what they can do up there. Put it this way. It's a little fortress for them at the moment. Can they take the scalp of, say, 2 or... They probably need to win 3 away from home to play finals from here?
And right now, we say no. The answer is no, they can't. They don't play finals.
They have got the Eagles here on a Friday night in Perth, so it does open up a bit.
It's probably going to have to be a big game for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seriously.
Yeah. I don't think Essendon lose too much. I watched, after I got back from Northern, a bit of this game, after driving an hour and a half through the countryside, just wandering aimlessly with the Google Maps.
And Did you get lost?
No, but I'm not familiar with Northern. I'm not. Okay. Have you ever been there?
No.
Anyway, so it's a nice spot, but yeah, I got in the car after the final siren and hightailed it out. Saw the last part of that game. Bombers competitive, but yeah, they've been up for a fair while. I think undefeated in 7 games, including that draw. So, I think it sets it up magnificently for next weekend against the Blues. That's already a sellout, by the way. Right. Blues Bombers on a Sunday night, which is part of the King's birthday long weekend in Victoria.
Right, that is a big one. What time you got to get out of here, Skater? What time
probably now.
Okay.
Soonish.
Will Schofield, Mark Reading, Shelter FootyCast. Couple of emails to finish it off, Skate, and I'll get you out the door for your 17th job of the last 48 hours. Hey, fellas, being an Essendon fan here, just talking about the Bombers, I'm excited to see them sitting second at the moment, but after watching the last 2 rounds and seeing that 7 of their 8 wins have come from bottom 8 teams, my hopes are not high for winning in September. The draw against Collingwood and the win against Will's Giants, very good. Essendon played great and it was exciting to watch, but the games against North Melbourne, especially the Tigers, was less than average. Is that a mindset issue when playing lower ranked teams, not to deliver great standard of footy that has been produced against the better teams in the comp, or is it something else like playing to your opponent's ability? Good work. Keep up the good work. Love, Stephen. It's a really good question. I mean, the Bombers have certainly jumped up, haven't they? I think the reason they're winning, whether or not like against good sides or bad sides, is their system and buy-in from the players and their ability to play roles.
And also, when we've seen them in Perth previously, going back over the last 3 or 4 years, their defence was non-existent. It was almost, it was very, very
and that's
poor.
Not back line, that's team defence.
Yeah, team defence. Yeah. So, but Brad Scott, I think that's been one of the strengths for them this year. I mean, I know the Suns kicked 90-odd points last night, but I think in general, their defensive aspects of their game have improved remarkably. Now, yeah, maybe the quality of opposition they've beaten hasn't been of the highest nature, but, if you had said at the midway part of the season, where are they now? 3rd?
Yes. So, Essendon?
Yeah, second. That's you tick that box and move on.
Wilma here. I love sending my questions in about the games each week and listening to an unbiased and direct answer each time. Cheers for that, legends. There you go, Skater. This week, I was wondering about the Eagles and the Waffle. Do the Eagles do a trade system similar to the AFL? If Subi or West Perth have the best players in the Waffle, could the Eagles Waffle trade them into their own team, swap players for picks, etc., or all the teams have like a Waffle rookie draft and do something similar to what AFL does in that area rather than just having Waffle zones that the players automatically get picked into? If they don't do this, could be an option what do you think from Wilma? So
Yeah.
a bit of a draft and trading and pre-season sort of setup for the Waffle.
I haven't thought of that from a Waffle perspective, to be honest. She's right about the zones, and a lot of clubs spend a lot of time and energy getting the zones right. The Eagles, I think, well, they still haven't decided publicly whether they're going to stay in the Waffle competition, but they won their back-to-back games for the first time, I think, since 2021.
And they don't
yesterday.
They don't have a zone.
They don't have a zone. What I think needs to happen, and I'm sure Don Pike, if they're going to stay in the competition, which, I mean, whether they do or don't, I'm not sure what's going to be of advantage to them in the long term, but they need to get the concession levels at a decent spot. Now, I know it improved at the end of last year, but is it where it needs to be? Possibly not. You could argue from an Eagles perspective, but
They'll be joining a National Reserves grade competition within the next 3 years.
yeah, well, that's probably
See you
the
later,
case.
Waffle. See you later.
So they'll go 9-team competition in the Waffle. I think Peel will probably stay from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but Fremantle will leave Peel, and Peel will do their own thing.
And Fremantle will have their own reserves competition.
I think
reserves team.
they'll go with West Coast. Yeah, I think the West Coast and Freo are.
So that takes, in terms of what we're expecting from that, are you in brief expecting, say Eagles play St Kilda on Saturday at Optus, as they did, that the Eagles reserve side might play at St Kilda's, whoever their affiliate is.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
Underneath, and maybe even a televised, I don't know.
I remember going to the MCG as a kid and watching like reserves play.
Yeah.
Like that they at least had VFL, like, they had, I remember Richmond. I used to go and watch them a fair bit, and they had like VFL play before games at the MCG. I used to love it as a kid. And I also think it doesn't take anything away from the Waffle. They lose the Eagles. Who cares? That no one really gives a shit the Waffle about the Eagles anyway. And then Peel Thunder's the only other one that they lose a bit of quality there, but perhaps they can add that, given they've got pretty much the down south region. Skeet, we got to get you out the door. Just a bit of feedback from James. Have loved listening to Mark try to pronounce the Serie A players in the AC Milan versus Roma game.
Is this a genuine email?
No, it's actually come in,
No,
mate.
of course it has. Yeah, no, I would not say that I was in the top 50 people who don't pronounce Italian names. Ciao, I got out pretty well.
Ciao.
But yeah, okay. There's a couple of names there that. Who's the bloke who gave me some feedback?
James.
Good on you, James. No, I'll take the whack on board. I mean, and if Scully was sitting in the crowd on Friday, he would have been texting me, pissing himself, laughing.
Say, how's his turn to me? I thought you were going to sledge me.
No. Anyway, I'll take that, James. Yeah, but Serie A, I haven't followed much of Roma and Milan over the journey, but and I can tell you now, just quickly, Milan boys were out at karaoke on the Thursday night on the gas,
Before the
drinking Shelter. Hence, we saw them play like a fourth grade team, Ashfield Dynamo, in their local competition.
That's it for the Shelter FootyCast. You can find all of our stuff at shelterfootycast.com.au. Send us an email, footycast@backchatstudios.com.au. Social Shelter FootyCast. Hope you enjoyed that one. Skeet's go to get his pay packet somewhere.
Viva l'Italia.